Now, it's less than 6 months to the day of political reckoning regarding the 2022 governorship election in Ekiti State, but the groundwork for a titanic battle is already being laid. 7 out of the 8 aspirants contesting the governorship ticket of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in Ekiti State have rejected the conduct of the party's primary election. Now, the 7 aggrieved aspirants, led by Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, called for its cancellation, citing favouritism on the part of the party's national leadership. Meanwhile, the PDP has crossed its own primary Rubicon. A former chairman of the party in the state, BC Kolawole, edged out a former governor, Segun Oni, and a former deputy governor, Kolade-Otitoju, to emerge as the PDP candidate for the June 18th governorship election in the southwest state. But first, let's share a video of the protest by the APC aspirants with you.
That is a curiosity. Because you give them space. MOB 1B, Arole 1B, Adeyeye 1B, Ayode 1B, Bafemu 1B, Fapi 1B, Gbogbo wọn ló 1B.
Meanwhile, TVC senior political correspondent Ayodele Zubakun, who is in Ekiti State to monitor the exercise, gives us details of what transpired.
For the All Progressive Congress that have chosen to have their own as direct primaries, it seems to be shrouded in controversy as the 7th aspirant out of 8, they are saying that there's no level playing field. They are saying they are backing out from the exercise.
The process is compromised. The electoral results have been issued to supporters of one of the aspirants. All the election materials, all the election materials are given to the supporters of one of the aspirants. They are the returning officers. They are the one conducting the elections.
Point is very clear. The process has been hijacked by Ekiti State government officials from those who were sent from the National Secretariat of the party to conduct these primaries. And there is no way this primary election can go on because they are clearly in violation of the guidelines.
The election committees that will lead the election at the local government and ward level, how were they constituted? And we find out that they were constituted by one of the aspirants. That is the aspirant being sponsored by the state government. And we raised that objection and we said, yes, the government may have right to sponsor any candidate, but they must still provide level playing ground for the election.
Confirmed to me as chairman electoral committee in Ward 4. Biadu Abayomi Oyebanji is declared as winner, having garnered the total vote of 1,007 at the level of Ward 4. Thank you.
It's now left for members of the presiding committee from Abuja of the All Progressive Congress to actually wade into the crisis and determine who becomes the candidate of the All Progressive Congress. From Ado Ekiti, Ayodele Zubakun, TVC News.
Right, let's begin with this conversation with you, Babjide. What do you make of the concerns raised by the aggrieved political party members in the primaries conducted in Ekiti State?
Well, I'm not entirely surprised that it has gone this way. Whether Bisoshun, whether it's Ekiti, wherever primaries are conducted because of the greed for power, you will find that certain steps have been taken to favor a particular candidate. Where a governor, for example, has a candidate, he will do his best to ensure that his candidate emerges the winner at the end of the day. APC as a party has always found it difficult to conduct primaries that will be acceptable across board. And that is why sometimes when they go into the main election, you will find that party members will go and connive with the opposition and ensure that they lose that state. I just hope that this time around, that is not what we are going to see in Ekiti. I've always warned these people that, look, try your best to organize primaries that are not rancorous, so that everyone goes into the election proper singing from the same hymn book. If we don't have that, then people feel aggrieved, will do their best to ensure that the candidate of the party does not win. These things have happened. We've seen these things happen in many states. In Adamawa State, APC members conspired against the incumbent governor, Jubrila Bindo, and made sure that he lost the election. In fact, some left the party for him. If you tally the votes scored by Abdulaziz Onyako, who crossed to the ADC due to irreconcilable differences with the governor, if you tally the votes that he scored with the votes that the APC candidate scored, APC would win the election. That is meaning that if Abdulaziz Onyako had remained in the APC, if he had not left the party to join the ADC, those votes that his own supporters gave him, if they had given it to the original party, the APC, there is no way the APC will not win. Because when you tally the votes of those two parties, ADC and APC, you see that APC will win. So right now, what these guys are saying is that they are saying that the 7 aspirants hearing received with rude shock and dismay the purported list of local government election committee and ward election committee made up solely of party members and political appointees that had before now openly endorsed the candidacy of Biodun Ebanji, the immediate past secretary to the state government. They then requested that both the local government election committee and ward election committee constituted on that list already in circulation be disbanded and replaced with names that will reinforce internal democracy and uphold the aims and objectives of the party. Meaning that they want to see people on that list that have not been known to be supporters of the candidate of the governor. They are even calling for outright cancellation. But the problem is, all these major parties had waited for too long to even organize primaries. And tomorrow is the deadline for submission of the flag bearer to INEC.
So what then is the next option? That's
why when they walked up to, they were supposed to have a meeting at 5 and at 9 a.m. today with the man with the funny beard from Jigawa, Governor Badaru. But clearly Badaru, the press statement that they issued condemning this exercise had leaked. So Badaru knew that these guys had issued a press statement, or they were in the process of rolling out a press statement condemning the exercise that he came to organize. So out of that anger, he said he was not going to meet them. He called off the 9 a.m. meeting. That in itself is not the right way to behave. You are supposed to meet with them, calm them down, and explain that, look, at this stage, the party can't afford to postpone because we run out of time already. You have to submit the name of the candidate. And if you do not submit, INEC will deem that you had withdrawn from the race. So Governor Badaru himself is in a bind. how do you, when do you want the fresh primary to be organized? So, since they've run out of time, because I heard the INEC chairman saying that he was surprised that parties had not done primaries, they had not brought the names of their standard bearers for the election. He was referring to Osun and Ekiti. Why must you wait until the last minute? For example, if they had 2 weeks, you know, this exercise, the national headquarters of the APC could investigate these claims, because they are claiming that they have pictorial evidence, they have videos and all that. They could investigate and then say, okay, we are going to do a fresh one, maybe tomorrow or next tomorrow. But as things stand now, since the deadline is tomorrow, when do you want to organize primaries? And in my view too, if you want to get out of a contest, you can also not get out at the last minute. Because when you get out at the last minute, there will be, the word will not get to some people that you are no longer in the race, and you are going to see that some of them they will receive some votes, because some of their supporters may not even be aware that they have decided to pull out. So it's really messy that every time this sort of thing happens, parties can organize primaries successfully. They will be fighting, they will take themselves to court. They are already threatening that they will go to court. And you know what this means?
Indeed. Now, BC, when you see this matter closely, it looks like there is a, disunity brewing in the APC, and the elections are approaching, and they have very little time, if at all, to have another primaries being conducted, as taking a position from what Babjide has said so far. What do you think, what other options do you think can be explored when you see that the aggrieved party members have little or no time left for their case to be heard?
As it is, the question I first ask myself is this: are we going with this result? If 8 people are contesting for something and 7 withdrew, remaining 1, what do you say about the results that you get? But clearly, as it is now, APC in Ekiti State is likely to go with the results of the primaries, despite the withdrawal of the other 7 candidates. And what that means is that that is a clear case of disunity in the party. And the implication of that is that the party has already created a scenario of losing the election, the governorship election, because they are not going for that poll as a united front. And that creates room for the opposition to have their way. Yeah. So as it is, I think I don't see because for me, I think it's conducting that primary very late into the deadline is deliberate. I want to look at it as being deliberate, because if it is not deliberate, INEC chairman has been talking for some time now, saying that they gave them deadline, but unfortunately both parties, both popular parties in Ekiti State, chose Wednesday and Thursday. You see, you should have anticipated a problem, and if you anticipate a problem, you should know that you need some time to sort it out. But since this thing is so close now, I don't see the National Planning Committee rejecting the result of this exercise, because they need to submit the candidate's name by tomorrow. But I also think the APC can still call a stakeholders meeting in Ekiti State and still find a way of bringing them together and addressing the problems. Well, then also, I don't know how this is going to be addressed. It's such a difficult situation, because if I have a right to contest in a primary and you didn't allow me, you didn't provide a level playing ground for me to contest, and you now choose this very thing I'm protesting against is what has come to pass, and you now come to me to say that you want peace. I mean, that is like walking to the answer. I don't know how that is going to be easy. But the problem now is that I see that this is a common problem of lack of internal democracy, even in our political parties. You talk of democracy is supposed to be a process that gives people the opportunity to choose their leaders. And the most important, the foundation of that is the primary. The way and manner you conduct a primary will show if the candidate is going to be acceptable by the people or not. If from the outset the complaints of the other candidates are genuine, if what they have said is really genuine, then there is a problem with that process. Of course, a governor can have his own candidates, but at least that is where lobbying comes to play. If you know you have a candidate and there are other candidates, I think what can be done is to persuade other people to probably, you know, give in for your candidates. You try to discuss and explain and give and take. You know, that should be the process, not just lording over a candidate above others, because it has a grave implication for our democracy. So really, right now, I don't know what APC in Ekiti State can do. I'm thinking that they are likely to go ahead to present the name of the winner, because that election was held in spite of the protest. Yes, and like Babjide said, it came too late, because some of their supporters will have also voted, and the implication of that is that it has provided a legal binding on that primary. It has shown that even though the candidates withdrew, but it's as if everything still went as it should, which is not really the case. Indeed.
So, Babjide, if this is the case for the 7 out of the 8 aspirants who are not so happy with the outcome, what then should be the onus of the governor of the state? How can he ensure that these people can be assuaged and perhaps work with the team that he's supporting, so to speak?
It's a difficult one. If indeed everything was skewed in favor of the candidate of the governor, then it's dangerous, because you can win the primaries. How about the main election? And we've seen APC members, they are very good at turning against the candidate of their party. Some of the states that they lost, this was what happened, including even Oyo State. You know, so they have a history of doing that, working against the candidate of their party. So the party has to move quickly, because
in so short a time, how can they do that?
No, I mean ahead of the election, because apparently it is still the candidate of the governor. That's the SSG that will be fielded. We saw what happened in Anambra now. There was no primary. There was no primary, but the governor of Ogun State was supposed to supervise the primaries, and they returned tons of votes from that exercise. Clearly audio votes. And we saw the election proper. The question you ask is, the people that you claimed voted for Andy Uba, where were they on election day? Well, those were phantom figures, sexed up figures, you know, meant to deceive Nigerians. So, if they don't move fast, these people will go to court. The party will be battling with litigation right up to election day, and they could even decide to tell their supporters to go and vote for the opposition
party.
It's happened before. So we saw it in Bauchi, we saw it in Adamawa, we saw it in a few places where they had crisis. Even in Sokoto, they couldn't resolve their crisis. Someone like Governor Tambua used to be in the APC.
Okay, but today, if this is a usual occurrence in internal politics of a party, how can this be resolved? You know, when we have situations where governors are supporting a candidate, shouldn't there be a law that would guard against this kind of thing, so that anyone who wants to contest a seat in governance should be allowed to contest without having to have a support from the godfather or from the political person in charge at the time?
What I thought you were going to ask me was, shouldn't this idea of sending governors to conduct primaries be stopped? Can't the party find wise men who are not biased? Because what happened, even in Bayelsa, there was no primary. APC has a history of organizing fake primaries. There was no primaries in Bayelsa. People like Lokobri and the rest of the Heineken, they were just cheated. There was no primary. Leaders, I mean, powerful people within the party would have made up their minds about a candidate. They will now force that candidate on everyone in the name of consensus and other. That's why you see that in crafting this the electoral bill, federal lawmakers were trying to ensure that, okay, if you say there's consensus, then there must be written admittance of the fact of consensus by the people who are contesting, the aspirants. So how do you get everyone to write that, yes, indeed, I agree? Although you still can't put it beyond governors, they can still force people to say, okay, you agree. But at least you are going to lobby people, you are going to talk to people, not that you simply go and bring someone, ensure that that person didn't go through any form of competition, and then it becomes the candidate. It is dangerous in democracy when a few people decide for everyone. And that's what we are seeing, and it's leading to disharmony, it's leading to, it's weakening the party.
Right.
And when you look at the PDP, for example, Chegon has come out to say they are going to do their best to ensure that BC Kolade wins the election. That means at this stage, you could say that they've managed their own situation better.
Right. And